on the governors. MPs seek to control county budgets.
Natafuta permission yenu kuwahudumia na kuhakikisha kwamba hiki kilio kwamba tumeibiwa kiishe.
Wooing delegates. Last-minute dash for ODM aspirants ahead of the Friday polls.
Plus, why long hair may just deny you the all-important secondary education.
Border riders, as we normally refer to them, that the hours of operation should only be during the day.
And it's an end to border rides at night. But will it be an easy ride?
This is KTN Prime with Yvonne Okwara and Wilson Buru.
A very good evening to you and welcome to the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. This is most certainly KTN Prime.
Many thanks for joining us tonight. We have a bulletin packed as usual, and of course we will continue with our focus on the ODM elections that's coming up this weekend, so do stay with us. But let's first start off with that bill to strip governors of both the national flag and the title of Your Excellency, and it is now before the National Assembly.
Now, the bill, which has already passed through the Senate, could slap governors with a fine of 1 million shillings if they fly the flag in contravention with the law. Rita Tinina begins our bulletin with our story.
Just the day after, Joint Speakers Kamukunji of the National Assembly and the Senate agreed to fast-track two bills that seek to clip the powers of governors. The bills, the National Flag, Emblems and Names Bill and the County Government's Amendment Bill, secured a slot on the order of business in the National Assembly. And just minutes before the House adjourned, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee Chairman Samuel Chepkonga introduced before the House the National Flag, Emblems and Names Bill with a pointer that the bill originated from the Senate. MPs Emilio Odhiambo and Jacoyo Midio sought clarification from the Speaker on whether the House was in order to discuss the bill which originated from the Senate. Deputy Speaker Joyce Laboso is set to give direction next week on whether or not the National Assembly should discuss the bill. If the bill is debated and if the House approves recommendations of the Samuel Chepkonga team, governors will lose the title Your Excellency. They will be referred to as governor. They will also not be allowed to fly the national flag. But that is not all. Governors will face a fine of 1 million shillings or a jail term not exceeding 1 year if they flout the new law. According to the recommendations, flying the national flag will be a preserve of the President, his deputy, the Chief Justice, and speakers of both houses of Parliament. This means that Cabinet Secretaries and the Attorney General could lose the privilege if the bill sails through. The ruling by the Speaker on the National Flag, Emblems and Names Bill will also give direction on whether the House will debate the County Government's Amendment Bill. The bill seeks to establish county development boards. The boards, according to the bill, will be chaired by senators, with governors acting as secretaries to the boards in the latest onslaught by Parliament in the supremacy battle with governors. The bill is expected to take the power struggles between the senators and governors a notch higher, since any control of the county development boards by the senators would arguably be seen as control of the county government by the senators. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Well, that story leads us to our big question tonight, and we are asking, do you support the bill to reduce the powers of the governors? Do you support the bill to reduce the powers of the governors?
Indeed, send us your comments to the number 22155. Start with a yes or no, and followed by a brief comment after that. Please do let us know also your name and where you are texting us from. We'd love to hear that from you. You can also tweet us at KTN Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara, and at Wilson_Mburu. We will give you the poll results of this big question at the end of our live newscast. So keep your comments coming in.
So given all these wars between governors and parliament, is devolution under threat or is it just the normal teething problems? KTN's Jim Smart sat down with a constitutional lawyer to put things into perspective.
I personally believe that the level of accountability to Kenyans of county government should even be higher than the level of accountability for national government, for the simple reason that county government is closer to the people, and therefore everything that is done is more relevant to their day-to-day lives. The ordinary mwananchi is not very concerned about what the army is doing. For example, in Somalia, it is remote to him. But whatever the county government does is very close to you. So I think it is important that we hold county governments to account. And let me say this, my belief is that when you look at the structure, the legal and constitutional structure, you'll realize that for devolved government to work successfully is both a constitutional requirement and a discretionary issue that is within the discretion of Parliament. In other words, acts of Parliament like the County Government Act are providing mechanisms to help counties to run successfully. So if the county governors do not ensure they tackle the political aspect of their work, which is to have good relations with senators, good relations with MPs, they may be able to defend the constitutional foundation of devolved government, but the statutory foundation will unravel and it will become very difficult for them. I'll give you a perfect example. Under the Constitution, the counties are required to get at least 15%. Anything above 15% of national revenue is within the discretion of Parliament. So if you alienate Parliament, they'll give you 15%. And they will do something else with the other 15%. Now they are having proposals saying the other 15% will pass through the County Development Board controlled by the Senator. And technically speaking, they'll be able to do that because they have an element of discretion. So I would advise governors that it is in their interests to ensure that they work on the politics of relating well with the national government and each of the three arms of the national government. I am a very strong believer in the principle of separation of powers and limited delegated power. And this power is limited and delegated both to Parliament, both to the judiciary, and also, of course, to the executive. So none of them should think that they can do something that is unchecked. Neither interpretation of the Constitution, nor passage of laws, nor implementation of those laws is an unchecked power under the new Constitution. I think we need to give an effort or give some time to implementation of the Constitution as is. Keep in mind that the current counties have not even gone through one full cycle of government, which is 4 or 5 years, an electoral cycle. And I think it is necessary first to allow them to go through one full cycle, go back to wananchi, ask them to vote for new office bearers. Then we can begin asking ourselves, do we need to tinker with the current constitutional design of counties?
Right, and of course, he's talking about devolution and that being under threat. And you'll remember the impeachment of the governor of Embu, Martin Wambora, sparked off such a huge debate. Senators saying they would not honor the court orders that came up. And this, together with the other incident of Mutea Iringo being summoned to court and an warrant of arrest being issued against him, has got the LSK and legal practitioner and scholar PLO Lumumba worried. Now let's take a look at what they're talking about today. They have issued a warning today saying, with the events that we have seen over the last 3 weeks, from the senators refusing to obey court orders to the Inspector General saying he is unable to arrest his boss, that is Interior Principal Secretary Mutea Iringo, says it looks like there's a breakdown of law and order in the country. In their press release today, they say they are concerned over the disregard of court orders. Now, while they say, and I quote, the country can survive a debate over the failure by Parliament to obey a court decision, decision. However, the situation is very different when it comes to the Inspector General of Police telling the court that he will not execute a warrant of arrest against a senior official because it will cause embarrassment. This is what they say could lead to a state of anarchy in the country. What does LSK plan to do about it? Well, this is what they've said, that they may push for the removal of the Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, because his actions amount to disobeying the rule of law, and they say that could amount to grounds for removal from office, and this is what they say they will pursue if this situation continues. Now, we might want to add that Mutaringo did appear in court today, said that he was not disregarding the court order. The ministry had run out of money, but he was fully intent on paying out those sums of money. Now, following that letter by the Law Society of Kenya, PLO himself wrote to the Law Society of Kenya in his capacity as a law scholar and legal practitioner. He's raising the same concerns. He's saying the rule of law in this country is under threat, and he's saying when you take a look at what's happening in the country between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, it seems like a Tower of Babel. And this is one interesting thing he raises, of course, that with all these barbs being thrown at the executive, at the legislature, they are able to defend themselves. However, with the judiciary, they remain silent in these blows that are being received because, as you know, they are unelected and they are more civil arm. And he says in the recent past, various institutions of government engaging in public verbal disagreements. And he's, of course, raising the question as to whether Mutea Iringo, the principal secretary, is above the law. But he says with everything that's been happening, this is exactly the picture that is being created. What does he plan to do about it? Well, he's asked the Law Society of Kenya to convene a meeting, a general meeting, a general membership meeting of the Law Society of Kenya members to discuss the fact that in this country right now, with the events we're seeing, the rule of law is under threat. We'll wait to see what comes of this meeting, if it happens, and of course, what the LSK itself will do about the Inspector General of Police. Let's now go to Wilson Buru, who starts off, of course, our extensive coverage tonight of the ODM elections. Wilson?
Absolutely. And just hours before the ODM elections are slated for Friday, the party members are still caught in a dispute over whether they should adopt the secret ballot method or go the acclamation way. As KTN's Sam Ogina reports, the Babuna Mwamba camp is uncomfortable with the acclamation method, saying it could be used to force in unpopular candidates.
The hour is now for ODM party polls, and it was heightened activities within the Orange Party. Just over 36 hours to ODM's defining moments, fault lines within the party continues to widen. A meeting of Nairobi ODM delegates with party leader Raila Odinga has differed with the party's elections board. While the board holds it has recommended for secret ballot, Nairobi County Chair hinted that the party could be going the acclamation way and vowed to rally his troops into backing the acclamation method.
Elections shall be through secret ballot or any other method of voting acceptable to the delegates in session. And where an office is contested by more than one candidate, the vote shall be decided by a simple majority.
Sisi mapendekeo yetu ni kwamba tunataka kura pigwe by show of hands. Ama tusikizane by mlolongo, hiyo zinakubaliwa. Na kama wana insist kwa secret ballot, kwani kuna serikali kwa secret ballot?
ODM's constitution restricts polls to secret balloting, but with a window for any other mode of election. Critics of acclamation claim it poses a risk of unpopular candidates sailing through to leadership positions.
Time itakuwa ni kidogo, siku ni mbili. Tukianza kupiga kura ya party leader na kufikiza vitu zingine. Tutasema okay, tupige by secret na hizo zingine tupige by show of hands. Na hizo zingine tuseme National Executive Council ikutane ijaze hizo viti kwa sababu muda itakuwa ni kidogo.
Any other person pontificating to be speaking on behalf of the party, I declare him out of order and must do that statement before he contests any position in the party.
Meanwhile, a group of aspirants allied to Funyula MP Paulo Tuoma has differed with its rival camp. The team has supported the expansion of seats, creating 9 deputies.
The majority of people felt that we should expand to make sure that we meet the gender balance. We also to include, because there are many interested regions which support this party.
The Namwamba camp has objected the move to add more seats, saying it risks duplication of roles. The team stuck to its guns, demanding secret balloting.
If ODM truly believes in the credibility of the electoral process, if ODM truly respects its honorable delegates, then ODM must conduct a free, fair and credible election on Friday.
Na Raila, akae kando. He is also a candidate. Akae kando, tumpigie kura, apite yake. Lakini asiingilie. Na mimi sio mtu ya kukubali ukora, hapana. Kura itapigwa kwa siri, na hiyo ndio nataka kutukubali. Kura itapigwa kwa siri siku ya Ijumaa.
Samugina, KTN.
Indeed, and some of those issues that have been raised there are what we're going to discuss just now with Mackerel Langat from ODM, who joins us this evening to answer some of those questions that are being raised, not just by the aspirants in the elections, but also by Kenyans. Let's start by talking about the issue of the additional posts that have been created. A lot of anxiety around that, and of concern is the issue that these posts will be awarded after the elections, where it seems like it will be an attempt at rewarding losers.
Not really. I think it's just a matter that came in a bit late when the party was already preparing for these elections. And you need to remember that the party, in terms of setting the election date, is because the Constitution provides that every 5 years the national officials must be elected. But again, the party has a right in terms of whether to amend its own constitution and adopt whichever the system that the party feels is going to serve it better. And I think these amendments, since the National Delegates Congress only converges once in every 5 years, it was found necessary that among some of the issues that will be going on in the Congress is to review the Constitution. By the way, it's not only the issue of the seats that are going to be looked into. But also there are a few other issues that will be rectified.
Like how to conduct the election, and we'll get into that. But you still haven't answered my question about the feeling that is being raised by most, and even others who are looking at this election and saying, should the losers not join hands with the party and carry on? 2 posts each for deputy party leader, deputy party chair, deputy treasurer, and 3 posts for deputy organizing secretary, and all of this again happening after the election. How are you able to reconcile that with what Ababu Namwamba and his team are saying?
What I can say is the true position of the party is that we may not be able to fill those positions within this particular convention, but a resolution will be sought from the convention to allow maybe the governing council to organize the way the party is going to fill those positions. So really, it's not a matter of rewarding those who will have lost. There's a possibility that even new people are going to come on board based on if the resolution is forthcoming at the NDC, then the governing council is going to sit down together with the party National Election Board to ensure that the filling of those positions is done democratically and in line with the principle of the party. So
it'll be done democratically, but it's an appointment. What's the criteria?
They are not appointments. Who say they are going to be appointments? They are not appointments. There are going to be positions that will be available, but logistically it's not possible to include them in the election that's going to be conducted on Friday.
So it'll be done after?
After. Yeah, that's why we are saying what the governing council is seeking is a resolution from NDC to allow it, conduct or find a way of filling those positions between the next after the convention.
All right, let's move to another contentious matter, and it's the issue of conducting elections via acclamation, something that many of us thought we'd never see again in the year 2014, for example. Unpopular candidates, perhaps some people will bring in rowdy mobs to, make noise. How is this that this is something that's being considered for the ODM elections?
What I can say is that our constitution provides for the 2 possibilities, but mostly the acclamation aspect could come as a result of a consensus, and whereby the party will, is able to reach a consensus and therefore present the persons who are supposed to be elected for the various positions before the delegates convention for ratification. within those particular scenarios, then you can have the acclamation because there is no need, there is no competition. But in this situation where we have seen a lot of competition,
yes,
heated competition,
and there is heated competition in your elections.
Our own constitution provides that the way to go is a secret ballot.
Yes.
But again, it is open. It opens it up to the just allow me to finish, the Congress members, whether they would think of any other method. But if you look at the rules of us conducting elections, they are very strict that it is secret ballot. So
and
basically,
the question, if the rules are that it's a secret ballot, why then would this be introduced to see which way it's going? If you've
nobody is introducing anything. I'm only giving you what is in our constitution. It provides that the way to go is secret ballot. Yeah?
So why then raise the possibility of acclamation?
We are only telling you what is in the constitution. We are not raising anything new. It is in the constitution. I wish I had come with a copy, then I would show you, so that you can be able to see that was provided in situations where if the party members would have arrived in a situation where there is consensus, then that is also a possibility. You don't have to go to secret ballot if there is consensus.
All right. There are some statements, though, by some members that regarding acclamation particularly and the law of the secret ballot that gets some people worried. ODM is a club and has its members with Raila as the captain. We will listen to his voice as to who he wants to work within the party. Those who feel uncomfortable can walk out with their secret ballots. This was a statement that was made by the Nairobi County ODM chief, George Aladwa.
Yes, Nairobi County ODM chief is not a spokesperson of the party. So
however,
basically,
he is a leader in the party.
Basically, he was expressing his own opinion. If this position came from the Secretary General of the party, then I would be a worried man. But the position of the party is, as I've told you, I've stated to you. But however, our members are always free to express their own opinions. So, and Aladwa's opinion is not necessarily the opinion of all of us.
So you're distancing yourself from that opinion?
Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about the preparations right now in place for this. There's a lot of discontent within the party. We know, of course, there have been efforts to, try and bridge the divide. But let's talk about the preparations ahead of that. What's in place? And what are some of the things that may make people feel comfortable and say that there are no favored candidates, there are no people who've already been preordained? What are some of the things that you can tell us in the preparations that would make people believe that this is going to be a free and fair election?
First of all, I would like to tell you that the National Election Board, up to today afternoon, is prepared to undertake this election. They have done the ballot papers, they have secured the place that we are going to be conducting this election, the ballot boxes, all the election materials, and we have candidates. So that alone tells you that the party is ready. And the organ of the party that is mandated to actually conduct this election is National Election Board. And up to today, they have given us an assurance that there will be an election because they are unable to determine who becomes what because of the big number of candidates gunning for each of those positions. So I can assure you, as executive director of the party, which we provide a facilitative role in the whole process, is that we have prepared the delegates register, of course with one or two issues here and there, but I think the party has been able to solve that. The National Election Board, together with the Secretariat and the members of the party, they have been able to sort quite a number of those situations. So it's ready. The venue is ready. We have enough security.
So
there is no reason.
No issues.
There is no reason
can you guarantee here
Kenyans.
that we will see no issues
I'm guaranteeing Kenyans that there is no reason for them to fear. I'm only requesting them to allow us to conduct this election. Then you can criticize us later.
Okay.
But I can assure you that the security situation has been is guaranteed. We are working with the security organs of the government and our own security within the party to ensure that all is well.
All right, indeed, we will be watching and we wish you all the best with that one. Let's stay with our continuing coverage. And as you know, the Orange Democratic Movement is a key component of the opposition coalition CORD. The pre-election coalition, the Orange Party entered into with the Wiper Democratic Movement and Ford Kenya prior to the March 2013 polls. Now, the CORD coalition has been outnumbered in both the Senate and the National Assembly, making it hard for the opposition to conduct business. So, after 1 year of braving the so-called tyranny of numbers, how strong are the cords that bind the parties in this coalition? KTN's political editor Ben Kitili has a reality check.
In the run-up to the last general election, political realignments were rampant as the race to State House intensified. The need to find the perfect winning formula saw Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula go into a pre-election coalition that took many by surprise. The Coalition for Reforms and Democracy Code became the new ship in the stormy Kenyan political waters, with Odinga carrying the mantle, deputized by Kalonzo, and Moses Wetangula anticipated to be the Senate Majority Leader.
Farasi ambayo inashinda ni farasi gani? Farasi gani? Inaitwa code.
Wazalendo wamekusanyika hapa leo ili kushuhudia historia.
However, after losing the election and the subsequent presidential election petition, it was back to the drawing board, and CORD decided to stick together.
There's no point in having a pre-election coalition, and once the election is over, then you jump to go and sign a post-election coalition with others. The way it is done in mature democracies, either you do a pre or a post, but you don't do both.
Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say no? Aye. The ayes have it.
1 year down the line, and it has been tough times for CORD. Many times, Jubilee have used their numerical superiority to frustrate CORD, the minority coalition in Parliament.
This thing requires a bipartisan approach. You may think you have the numbers, but your numbers may lead you to hell. Your numbers may lead you to hell. Numbers are only good when they are used correctly.
With Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka leading the coalition from outside Parliament, with no option for a shadow cabinet, the minorities have had a difficult time in the August House.
CORD as a coalition that carries the aspirations and hopes of Kenyans remains their beacon of hope.
If their goals do not coalesce into one that can form as a check against the government, then this explains the very, very lackluster performance.
A key challenge for CORD going forward will be keeping their promise of sticking together. Signs of fault lines have already begun to emerge. A number of disgruntled Wiper MPs have demanded that Musyoka be the CORD presidential flag bearer in 2017, or else they leave the coalition.
If there are isolated cases, we'll deal with them as they come.
Kalonzo Musyoka, again, his supporters think that he did give Raila support in 2013, so come 2017. So how fielding the flag bearer will be a make or break for the CORD coalition.
With Jubilee having stated their intention to stick together and try to hold on to power for years, pundits agree that CORD has no choice but to also remain united.
The president's way of saying that I intend to keep the coalition intact, and that when the time comes, I'll return the favor that the deputy president has extended to me.
A positive trait in CORD has been their ability to regroup in the face of adversity. Moses Wetangula managed to recapture his Bungoma Senate seat after losing an election petition. Had he lost, CORD would have had all three core principles leading from outside Parliament. CORD also managed to recapture the Makueni Senate seat following the death of influential CORD stalwart, the late Mutula Kilonzo, with his son Mutula Kilonzo Jr. being elected. But how will CORD deal with its numerical disadvantage in Parliament?
We are sitting on the opposition side as a government in waiting. We have an agenda, we have strategies. Those strategies are not for the public, but for our internal workings and mechanisms.
As CORD strategizes on how to form the next government, eyes will certainly be on the 2017 race to State House. And as ODM heads to its crucial party elections, one key question will be needing an answer. Is Raila Odinga still the man to fly the CORD flag?
Mwai Kibaki tried in 1992. Mwai Kibaki tried in 1997. And Mwai Kibaki tried in 2002 and finally won.
ODM's forthcoming party election will be used as a yardstick to measure not only ODM's cohesiveness as the biggest political party in the country, but also the future of the minority coalition CORD. a successful election could determine the level of CORD's competitiveness in 2017 politics. Ben Kitili, KTN, Nairobi.
Well, let's stick with the matters of ODM elections, and we'll continue looking at the profiles of some of the aspirants. And tonight we're looking at the deputy party leader's position. And the two aspirants tonight who we will be looking at is Ali Hassan Joho. Let's start with Ali Hassan Joho, who is currently the governor of Mombasa. He was born on February 26th, 1976. That means he's 38 years old. He's one of the younger governors in the country. He has a degree in business and human resource management, taking an MBA, and is currently taking an MBA course. You'll remember that there was a lot of debate in regards to whether he actually has the right papers from Kampala University. Now, he joined active politics in 2004 and was the LDP Kisauni Party chairman from the year 2006 to the year 2007. Now, Joho was elected as the Kisauni Member of Parliament in 2007 on an ODM ticket, and in 2013 he became the governor of Mombasa County. He is now currently gunning for the deputy leader's position in ODM. Let's move on to the other aspirant for the deputy leader's position, and this is Wycliffe Oparanya. He is currently the Kakamega County Governor. He was born on 25th of March 1958. That means he's 57 years old. He has a bachelor's degree in commerce and a master's degree in public finance from the University of Nairobi. Now, Oparanya, before he joined active politics, he was working at the Kenya Aerotech Limited as the Chief Financial Controller, and he was elected as the Member of Parliament for Butere constituency in 2007. Now, after the debacle of the 2007 elections, he was appointed the Minister for Planning in 2008. Of course, he was appointed by the then Prime Minister Raila Odinga, from whose camp he was, and in 2013 he was elected the governor of Kakamega on a court ticket. Those are the two candidates who will be fighting it out for the deputy leader, party leader in ODM.
Right, now away from matters of ODM and to the Auditor General, Edward Oko, who has told the Senate that a yet-to-be-published special audit report by his office reveals a massive plunder of cash by county governments. Oko expressed concern that majority of governors were making huge withdrawals from the county kitty as petty cash. Patrick Amimo reports.
The Auditor General, Edward Oko, and his team met senators a day after the Senate resumed official sittings. The auditor said his office will finalize a special audit report for all the 47 counties by the end of the month. The auditor will then publish the report and distribute it to the Senate, National Assembly and county assemblies for discussion. Oko revealed that governors have failed to establish proper financial management systems and export the county kitty to plunder.
A lot of counties had massive cash withdrawals and then you spend it, in a very easy way, like a petty cash, which was very risky. And so this was a problem. The people who should have been critical, the governors, were not taking our work seriously. They were not, most cases, they were not available.
Quickly, those of us who have gone through the reports have seen the way most counties are holding huge amounts of cash as petty cash, and literally transactions being conducted. I've been told of counties where petty cash goes even as high as 30 million. Yeah. And even for 10 million, 15 million things, people are spending cash, which makes it very difficult to account for, which makes it also very easy for misappropriation.
Governors have gone to court to question whether the Senate has powers to interrogate them over use and management of devolved funds. Some governors have argued they are blameless and the Transitional Authority should carry the blame.
Some governors have said during this period, the people effectively in charge were not us. They were the Transitional Authority.
There is a period between the inauguration of governors and the period of fourth
which was no man's land.
In Nyeri County, we found a piece of land that is over 200 acres of land that was somewhere in the midst of things, but nobody knew anything about it. So I do not even know whether that particular piece of land would be part of the assets of Nyeri County. And when you go around every county, there is total disarray about what are the assets that they actually own.
This house, we have determined to ensure that any reports of misappropriation or loss, we hand it over for immediate action. In fact, we have invited the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
The senator said funds meant for county governments must be used prudently, with quick action taken on those who want to enrich themselves from the kitty at the expense of development and service delivery. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Now, in our top story tonight, we did tell you of the National Assembly's plan to strip some of the powers from the governors, and that includes of flying the national flag and getting the title Your Excellency. So in our big question tonight, we're asking, do you support that bill to reduce the powers of governors? Do you support that bill by the National Assembly to reduce the powers of the governors?
That's right. 22155 is our SMS number. Start with a yes or no. You can also get us on Twitter. Darlington says, no, I think Parliament should redirect that energy to better issues. Not flying that flag won't tighten our security. Keep your comments coming. We'll continue to sample them throughout this newscast.
Take a short break now, but don't you go away. We have much more after that.
No here, please. One girl's trouble with school authorities.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime.
Now, a relatively quiet school in Elgeyo Marakwet County has suddenly been plunged into a crisis of a very unique nature. Now, the school has refused to allow a newly admitted girl into the classrooms because she has long hair. But the girl and her family have also refused to budge, saying their religion does not allow the long hair to be cut. Here's Mercy Kandie with the story of Metke Secondary School and the new girl.
It is this long hair that has kept the standoff going between 14-year-old Ruth Jemutai Kongin and Metke Girls High School in Elgeyo Marakwet County. The school insists that it is against their rules for students to keep long hair, and by allowing Ruth in with the long hair, they would be compromising on their integrity. But while the school is standing by the rules, Ruth's family is standing by her.
Chapter 11, verses 14 and 15. It says the hair is a covering. And we can't pray without the hair being covered.
They are dedicated members of the Kenya Local Believers Church, which, according to their faith, does not allow women and girls to shave their hair for whatever reason. They say it is disgraceful to both God and their faith.
So it is in Proverbs 22, verses 6, which says, train up a child in the way he should go, and he will, even when he'll be old, there's no time when he'll forget. We train them, and I cannot change now and say, let us now cut the hair because of school. It would be like I'm a mother who is changing.
They have been going to the school 10 times in talks with the management, but to no avail. The mother says her other 3 daughters have been educated through various high schools without any issue.
I was telling the board yesterday that I feel I'm discriminated upon, and even my daughter, just because of her ability. And they say that it might destroy the school. I don't believe it will destroy.
And if things will not go, maybe we will also seek for court redress to assist us on this matter.
The Office of the County Director of Education directed the principal to admit the student after the parents sought audience with them, saying the school rules on long hair were contrary to the Basic Education Act, but the school declined. The County Director of Education decided to take the student personally to school, but the principal was not in school.
However, reasoned that we once again go back with the student and try to communicate officially to the principal to have the girl admitted, or we see the next course of action.
I just don't feel good because I know others have just started their studies and I'm still at home while others are continuing with their studies.
The school principal could not be reached for comment since her phone was off. Mercy Kandiye, KTN, Met K, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Here is Ingmata. Now, the new order to limit operating hours for motorcycle taxi operators in Nairobi has triggered an outcry from both the operators and a section of the public. The Nairobi Police Boss Benson Kibue says the bodabodas will operate strictly between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. in order to contain the new wave of crimes involving motorcycle gangs. But those concerned fear massive losses in revenue.
Border riders, as we normally refer to them, that the hours of operation should only be during the day. Come night, they should retreat, they should go back, they should retire to their area because it is not safe for them to operate during the night.
The explosion of the motorcycle taxi business, or the bodabodas as Kenyans have come to refer to them, was triggered by the ease with which one can start such business. And the operators have especially made their money either in heavy traffic or at odd hours when public transportation is hard to come by. But after many of the operators became victims of robberies and killings, it is now a catch-22 situation for them as the police try to cut off their night business.
They are using this boda to destroy our career. Some of us, we are just doing this job because we don't have a special job to do. And as we are here, we are waiting for we to get a means for us to advance.
Florence operates a mobile kiosk at one of the boda stages in Nairobi. She rides to work on a boda at 4 a.m. in the morning to set up shop by 6 a.m. She says if the bodas will not be available at 4 a.m., she will never make it to her shop on time.
Ni saa 10 siwezi pata ngali masaa kama hiyo mpaka nitafute pikipiki ndio nilete mpaka hapa. Nimesikia wanaweza beba customer yote wafikisha mahali plani waende wanyanganywe pikipiki waacho kama wameuawa. Sasa ile kitu tunaomba ni security ya kutosha.
Some of the boda operators and users KTN spoke to are that during heavy traffic or medical emergencies, bodas are the most suitable. Police, however, say that incidents of crime begin to peak after 8 p.m. and those found operating after stipulated hours shall be detained.
Criminals wailing and causing havoc and using motorbikes to go for innocent people. Your time has come to an end.
Na hizi namba tunapeana za pikipiki. Sasa kama pikipiki inakuja mgeni, hiyo inaweza kuwa imebeba wezi, ndio kama haina namba tunajua hiyo pikipiki si hapa ama si ya mahali popote hapa.
You find somebody was sleeping, an emergency of sickness comes in, then when somebody feels that he has a neighbor who has the boda, he will come and knock at your door. So at that moment you have to respond because you want to save somebody's life.
Cases of riders and passengers being attacked have been reported along Mombasa Road and Kilimani in Nairobi, as well as other parts of the country like Malindi.
The convenience that comes with the use of a boda is that it's able to get you from one point to another, a place where matatus don't normally get to, and bring you to a main stage where you're able to get onto the buses or these matatus. Julius Musyoki here tells me that if this curfew is initiated, it's going to affect his business because 8 p.m. is a time when rush hour is happening and when people are coming from work, headed home, and mostly using bodas. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN.
Right, let's now take you to Uganda. Just a day after the president there, Yoweri Museveni, endorsed what has been termed as one of the world's toughest anti-gay laws, a section of the international community has initiated sanctions on the country.
That's right. The Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark and Norway have linked up a series of sanctions to show Uganda just how unhappy they are about the new law. Sharon Momanyi reports.
Just a day after the controversial anti-gay bill was signed into law, headlines such as this one, which reads, "Exposed," on a newspaper in Uganda called Red Pepper, hit the streets. Uganda's 200 top homos named, it read. This amidst fierce criticism from Western nations and key donors, including US President Barack Obama, stating that the law is inhuman and promotes discrimination. Now Sweden is also threatening Uganda with sanctions.
There's an increase in worry that in the community that this legislation would legitimize harassment of these groups, and that's a very problematic point from a Swedish perspective.
The Netherlands froze a €7 million subsidy to Uganda's legal system, while Denmark and Norway said they would redirect around €6 million each towards private sector initiatives, aid agencies and rights organizations.
The Pope says we should be tolerant and forbearant. Of course we've said we are tolerant. That's what we're saying. We are not slaughtering them. That's what we're saying. Let them come and we help them to come out of this unfortunate situation. It's like a drug addict. Drug addict is not an innate situation. It is acquired.
We are reviewing our own aid program with Uganda. And obviously this is a factor that has to be taken into account. It is not a positive factor, but a major problem that we will have to deal with.
Museveni earlier this month also signed into law anti-pornography and dress code legislation which outlaws provocative clothing. Sharon Momanyi, KTN.
It's time to take a short break now, but don't you go away. Yvonne will be back with the day's business.
Indeed. It's time for business news now. Kenya has made a passionate appeal to be granted further extension to enable it sort out the mess in the sugar sector. The appeal, KTN Business has learned, has been approved by the COMESA Council of Ministers and now awaits ratification by the Heads of State Summit meeting in Kinshasa, DRC. Adelaide Changole has the details.
Finally, the real threat to Kenya's 47 billion shilling sugar industry is only days away. The COMESA safeguards that have protected local players and the 2 million people who live off sugar comes to an end. Cane farmers can only but relieve of the glory days.
Kusomesha watoto wangu kutoka kuhimiwa. Nimewahi hata kununua matatu nikauka barabara kutoka kuhimiwa.
But even then, the story has not been so sweet of late, as most farmers contend with paltry earnings from the near rundown millers.
Wakikata transport, wakate mbegu yao, wakate fertilizer kupatia, wakate kubeba, mkulima anabaki na kiasi si nyingi sana.
The fate of the thousands of farmers in Kenya's sugar belt now lie with the COMESA Heads of State Summit meeting in Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Deputy President William Ruto is leading the push for an extension. Back home, MPs of the sugar belt are issuing ultimatums.
It is regrettable that despite the several extensions on the safeguard, the government has not taken any deliberate measures to ensure that production of sugar in Kenya becomes competitive in readiness for the COMESA trading bloc.
The blame, they say, lies squarely with the government's inability to keep contraband sugar off the Kenyan markets and retail chains repackaging sugar for resale at cheaper prices than Kenyan producers.
Chemelil has 45,000 bags that is unsold by last week. Yeah? Because it can't access the market at the rate or at the price at which it's able to break even.
We want Nakumat to explain where is it getting their brand called Nakumat Blue brand. Where is it getting that sugar? Because the sugar is selling 20% less than the Mumia sugar, less than Sony sugar, less than Zoya sugar.
Talks of revitalizing Kenya's sugar sector have been on for nearly 13 years. However, very little has been done since then by the government in line with COMESA recommendations that came with the safeguards. As it stands, any further extension could put Kenya and COMESA in collision with the World Trade Organization. The country's sugar sector has received 4 extensions over the last 13 years, and during that time, consumers have been subjected to expensive and unreliable sugar supply. So as the debate on the future of the sugar sector rages on, a thought must be paid to the consumers who could finally get a break from the high sugar prices as the safeguards lapse on Friday. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Listed investment firm TransCentury has announced plans to acquire all the shares of equity firm Eros Capital in Cable Holdings Kenya Limited. Cable Holdings is a subsidiary of TransCentury, which owns a 68.38% stake in East African Cables. The deal is seen as a move by the investment firm to take control of the listed cable manufacturer, which has seen a change in fortunes with electrification projects across the region. In a statement to the Nairobi Securities Exchange, TransCentury says it intends to acquire the Eros shares in exchange for shares in the investment firm by way of a share swap. The announcement comes less than a month after TransCentury announced it was re-evaluating its stake in Rift Valley Railways. Now, Westlands area of Nairobi remains a favorite location for those seeking office space, according to a survey by Mentor Management Limited. The report also puts in focus property developers, which it says are yet to get in sync with the demands of modern office location needs. Philip Keitani breaks down that report.
The Nairobi Central Business District is no longer attractive to business. This has in the last 5 years seen a shift of focus to areas such as Upper Hill that offer more value to institutions.
There's a very high demand now for grade A space as opposed to grade B space. And grade A meaning high parking ratios, good quality finishes, and good floor plates and good floor layouts.
But according to the survey, interest in these areas, especially the Upper Hill region, will soon witness saturation as supply exceeds demand for office space. In 2 years, Upper Hill is expected to yield over 2.28 million square feet of office space. However, the current state of infrastructure may not support the demand.
Upper Hill, the situation could change dramatically if the government proceed with its infrastructure improvement plans.
Also key to the demand of office space and survey notes is equal supply of parking space for both staff and clients. This follows the current high rate of city-county government parking fee as well as security.
Some nodes in town are in danger of heading for oversupply or are already in oversupply, and some nodes in town are in a situation of undersupply and impending undersupply.
While Mombasa Road and Ngong Road also provide value for office space, the areas have been hit hard by the never-ending traffic jams. This is said to have contributed to a high number of vacant office space in the area.
Mombasa Road would change dramatically if the southern bypass is opened, and we see that occupiers very much are following two things. They're following infrastructure and roads, and they're following the specification of building.
However, Westlands and Waiyaki Way continue to attract more clients, hence likely to see a shortage of office space. Philip Keitan, KTN Business.
Let's now take a look at other business news stories that also made headlines today, as compiled by Charles Gitonga.
A survey by power generator KenGen has shown that the Olkaria geothermal plant has potential to generate up to 1,000 megawatts of electricity. The firm has also announced that the process to add 4 more generation points in the region is ongoing and expected to add an extra 585 megawatts to the national grid by 2019. This comes amid concerns by the East African legislators who have said geothermal explorations should not be done at the expense of the environment. Elsewhere, the Equatorial Commercial Bank has signed a financing agreement with motorcycle dealer Reese East Africa. The deal will enable low-income earners acquire motorcycles on credit, with ECB financing up to 90% of purchase price and insurance cover. The bank says it has taken note of the rapidly growing informal transport sector, hence the need to extend the credit facility to the sector players. Finally, Kenya Charity Sweepstake has launched Africa Millions in Kenya in a bid to introduce a new dynamism into the Kenyan lottery game scene. This becomes the first Pan-African lottery in Kenya, having succeeded in 5 other African countries, and will introduce the highest jackpot in the local lottery environment, starting from 30 million shillings. Over the past 10 years, Kenya Charity Sweepstake has paid out more than 3 billion shillings to winners and donated 700 million shillings to charity.
Let's now have a review of the financial markets performance today.
KTN Business, in association with Safaricom Self-Care.
To get your M-Pesa statement, PUK, Bongo Points, and more without calling customer care or visiting a Safaricom shop, simply log on to www.safaricom.co.ke and click on Self-Care. Register your phone number, username, and enter a password. Get your M-Pesa statement, PUK, Bongo Points, and much more. Do it yourself today. Just visit www.safaricom.co.ke.
Well, let's take a recap of our top story tonight now. And a bill to strip governors of both the national flags and the title of Your Excellency is now before the National Assembly. The bill, which has already passed through the Senate, could slap governors with a fine of 1 million shillings if they fly the flag in contravention of the law. Some members of the National Assembly have, however, asked the Speaker to clarify whether it was right for them to debate a bill which has originated from the Senate. Well, that story formed the basis of our big question tonight, and we're asking, do you support the bill to reduce the powers of the governors? And a lot of comments coming in.
Indeed, quite a number, and it seems it's almost 50-50 though. Let's see how the poll will end up at the end of this bulletin. Grace from Nairobi, thank you for texting. You say, yes, governors have not concentrated on working for the Kenyans, but on being powerful. Let them be checked so that they can be sobered up and start working for us.
Kibao from Gatundu South says, yes, they should be stripped of those enormous powers.
Indeed. Here's another one, Odundo in Busia. With flags or no flags won't create employment to millions of youth. Please use that energy on something more constructive.
Well, we'll continue sampling some of your views, and we'll, of course, give you the result at the tail end of this newscast. But don't you go. We'll take a short break now. Sports is next. Well, I am told that Lynn Washira is in our sports studio now, and she's ready to tell us what's going on in the sports world. Manchester United lost last night. Lynn, good evening.
I know, yes. Manchester lost last night. I think too many people, I don't want to mention names, they said they weren't very shocked. But anyway,
I know where you're headed with that.
I'm not targeting anyone. I'm not targeting you, Wilson, or anyone. But that's not all we have in today's bulletin, because we have some Gor Mahia story as well as some news from Eldoret, where there's some hope on the Kipchoge Keino Stadium. For these and more stories after a short break, do stay with us.
A couple's escapade ends in an interesting twist.
Kipchoge Stadium to get more attention as government pumps in 25 million shillings for its renovation.
And finally, some good news from Eldoret, where after being in a state of neglect for over 1 year, Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Eldoret is in line of getting to an international usable stage after the government, through the Ministry for Sports, Arts and Culture, committed to see that the stadium is rehabilitated and gets a Class 2 IAAF certification upon completion.
Wednesday morning, Sports Cabinet Secretary Hassan Wario toured the Kipchoge Keino Stadium and announced that the ministry will channel 25 million shillings for the completion of the sports facility in Eldoret that has stalled for over an year due to financial constraints.
We cannot just pass the buck. Said we need to come and see, quantify it, see what the problem is and sort it out.
And we are committed as a county government, and together we are going to partner to ensure that this project is complete.
The facility, located at the epicenter of athletics in Kenya, has not been at its best state, rendering it not fit, forcing athletes to seek alternative training grounds in Kariameny, Iten and Kapsabet. A contractor has been identified and is expected to continue the remaining part of the stadium.
Now that the funding has already been allocated, so we will make sure that we speed up and give to the people what they require.
The remaining work schedule include laying of a tartan track, erection of a fence, renovation of changing rooms and offices, together with a facelift of a football pitch that is in a wanting situation. Upon completion, the track will be issued with a Class 2 IAAF certification, meaning that anyone breaking a world record on it will be internationally recognized. Moses Swahisi, KTN Sports.